Hello and welcome to The Hub. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. The Beijing 2022 Paralympics is at the corner. From March 4th to March 13th, Paralympians from around the world will be competing for 78 gold medals in 6 sports in the Olympic ring in Yanqing and in Zhangjiakou. There will be wheelchair curling, pair ice hockey, alpine skiing, snowboard, biathlon, and cross-country skiing. As the world is still battling against COVID-19, how significant is the Beijing 2022 Paralympics for people with disabilities? For more on this, I'm very pleased to be joined by Mr. Andrew Parsons, President of the International Paralympic Committee. President Andrew Parsons, thank you for doing this. In an interview in May last year before the Tokyo Olympics, you said this: Paralympics are a platform to bring disability to the heart of the discussion on inclusion. How significant are Beijing 2022 Paralympics to the cause of people with disabilities, in your opinion?
It's fundamental. The Paralympic Games is the only global event that puts persons with disability at center stage. So Beijing, impacting the whole world with an incredible technical delivery of the Games, putting the Paralympians as the stars, it sends a very important, very strong message of inclusion.
And then we know that Paralympic Committee has initiated a number of projects over there. For example, the We, the 15%. That is a lesser-known project, but let's face it, 15% of the world's population have a disability. I was really amazed when I first learned this. How do you think We, the 15 initiative, initiated and launched by the Paralympic Committee, can help the cause of helping those in need, those who have a disability?
Yeah, I think the first thing is exactly to make the other 85% of the world understand that there are 15% of global population with disabilities. So we're talking about 1.2 billion people. So they cannot be ignored. We the 15 aims to fight discrimination, aims to make a more inclusive world. And not only through sport, that's why we have 20 international organizations outside of the world of sport with us. So we want to make improvements in not only accessibility in sport, but also when it comes to employment, in the active participation of persons with disability in society. It's a 10-year campaign.
And then, there are some people wary about what sports can do to really bring to focus people with disabilities, because if you think about it, only those extremely fit or who have worked extremely hard for this can go to the Paralympic Games. How do you think specifically can the Paralympics help people with disabilities?
Yeah, Paralympics is the driver. High performance sport is the driver. They change the perception of persons towards people with disabilities. So they change the mindset. One understands when they see, for example, now in Beijing, they will see a blind skier going 100 kilometers an hour downhill, and this changed perception. So the idea here is to change how people see and perceive and treat persons with disability. The sport is the hook, sport is the driver, but we don't want to change the world only for the 670 athletes competing in Beijing. We want them to inspire change to the other 1.2 billion.
And then what are your hopes and expectations for the 2022 Beijing Paralympic Games? What do you think these games can and should achieve?
I think, first of all, these games will be fantastic from a sport perspective. We have been seeing our athletes in, even though they are training in very challenging circumstances due to the pandemic, but the results in the last 2 seasons have been amazing. So we are going to see amazing sport. The technical delivery by China and the organizing committee will be fantastic. We've seen it at the Olympics. We couldn't be more excited about it. And also, our main concern here is to protect athletes and to protect the Chinese population from the pandemic. So we believe that the concept of the closed loop and all the countermeasures put in place by China, they really worked during the Olympics. So I think we'll have great games, safe games, games that will change the mindset of people around the world. We'll have more broadcasters than ever broadcasting Paralympic Winter Games. So I couldn't be more excited about the change that we will inspire, but also about the quality of the sport and the quality of the game.
That's where I was going to go next. What do you think of the closed loop system we've seen for the Beijing Winter Olympics? Because there are many critics out there, offering complaints about this system. What do you think?
Well, I think it's impossible to stage games during pandemic. That will not be different from previous editions of the games. And the closed loop, first of all, it works. Allows athletes to focus on what only performing, allow officials to focus only on delivering what they have to deliver to support the athletes. So this is what we want, athletes not to be thinking about if they are going to get COVID or not, and to focus on what they have to do. So it worked during the Olympics, it will work during the Paralympics. I respect critics, everyone is entitled to have an opinion, but my opinion is that we need to make them whatever we can to protect athletes and different populations and protect the Chinese population. Hosting the games, the legacy that we want to leave in China is of a different perspective of persons with disability, more persons with disability practicing sport, and not more people getting infected. And this is what has been achieved during the Olympics, and it's going to work again for the Paralympics.
And then what do you think of the accessible or barrier-free facilities offered by the Beijing Paralympic Organizing Committee?
Well, we have been following the preparations throughout the years. So we are very happy with the level of accessibility that our athletes will have when they get to the Beijing facilities. Of course, we had people on the ground during the Olympics to see these venues in operation, to see all these systems and really in operation, of course, with Olympians and with Paralympians. So minor adjustments here and there. We have full confidence that the athletes will have a barrier-free environment, that they will only focus in training, performing, preparing, and inspiring the world. So we are very happy, and we know how important it is for China to invest in barrier-free facilities. Not only in the sport, we know that more than 300,000 facilities have been made accessible due to Beijing organizing these games. So that's amazing. That's a legacy that has been delivered even before the games take place.
And then what are your expectations as far as the Paralympic organization is concerned, as far as Paralympic sports are concerned?
Well, we are going to see great sports. We have sports that are in some way new to the program, and they are still developing, such as para snowboard, that is a spectacular sport, that it's getting more athletes, more participation from different nations. The sport will be fantastic, and the venues, they will be amazing. So I think it's a step further in the development of Paralympic sports in the world. We have been developing a lot over the last few years. Beijing 2008 was fundamental to that, because it has set the way the Paralympic Summer Games were going to be delivered in the future. So we only had London, Rio, Tokyo 2020 in such a high level because Beijing has set the bar really, really high. It completely changed the way the Summer Games were delivered. And that's what we aim here with the Winter Paralympics. We believe that Beijing 2022 will do the same for winter as Beijing 2008 did for the summer. It will change forever the way the Winter Paralympics is delivered.
Yeah, President Parsons, we all know that Beijing has now officially become the dual Olympic city, and it is on track to become the first dual Paralympic city as well. Other than the symbolism around all this, right? What are some of the concrete contributions Beijing, China has made to the global Olympic and Paralympic movement?
Well, I think in Paralympic side, again, 2008 was a game changer. A massive game changer. The way the games were, if you compare the way the games were delivered in Athens to Beijing, and from Beijing on, you see a dramatic change. And this has helped the movement to grow and to impact more persons with disability. And of course, at the time in Beijing 2008, China was opening up to the world. Now it's a different situation. China is a superpower. It influences the world in so many ways. So whatever happens in China has a profound impact on the rest of the world. So having the Paralympics in a country with more than 85 million persons with disability means a lot. So sends a very important message of inclusion. So in terms of sport and in terms of legacy, I think these games could have the biggest impact ever on the Paralympic movement.
And then for the first time ever, Chinese athletes will attend all 6 sports. China has seen a surge of Winter Paralympians since 2016, as the number grew from just 50 to around 1,000. What do you make of China's efforts to promote and facilitate winter sports for people with disabilities?
That's incredible to see, because the numbers you gave are numbers on high-level sports. But when you go to numbers to the people who are practicing in the sport with disability, we went from 10,000 to 300,000 in China. And this is amazing, because it's not only about the athletes, it's about what the athletes inspire. We will never have 300,000 Chinese athletes at the Paralympic Winter Games, but the more we have Chinese with disability practicing sport and practicing winter sport, the better for their integration, promotion of health, for them to be more active into society. And one thing that inspired me a lot was I was present at the curling venue in Pyeongchang when China won its first ever gold medal in a Paralympic Winter Games. And to see that emotion, to see the reaction of the Chinese team who was watching in the stand, knowing that China is a super successful country in the summer, but that's what that first gold medal in winter meant for the Chinese Paralympic Committee and the Chinese athletes and Chinese persons with disability was amazing to see. So we knew that they were preparing something really big for these games, taking advantage of hosting the games to have more persons with disability practicing sport. But we know, and I think the other nations know, that China will fight for very high positions on the medal table.
That was a very emotional moment that you just brought up. Mr. President, there are more than 85 million people with disabilities in China, as you rightly mentioned. In your opinion, what can China do to further improve inclusion? How can these Paralympic Games help address that issue?
I think it's keep this track of investing in, first of all, in changing perception. I remember a publication from the Chinese government saying how the Games in 2008 helped to change the perception around persons with disability. There was a negative perception in the lead up to the Games, but with the Games, the perception of persons with disability became of a track athlete, of a judoka, of a wheelchair basketball player. So I think it helped in a country with 85 million people that the other more than 1 billion people, they understand differently. They see persons with disability in a different way. And that's how the Games are helping to change and shape a new Chinese society, a Chinese society that is more inclusive than before. And I think China really knows how to take advantage of that. So what we believe will happen with these Games is, let's say, the next chapter of it. Having in mind that we have people, youngsters and kids, teenagers, they could not understand what was going on in 2008. So there's a new generation that will be impacted of Chinese people who will be impacted by these Games. So they will grow with a different mindset, and they will be the future, leaders of China, entrepreneurs, TV hosts, athletes, citizens. So they will grow and they will make a more inclusive Chinese society. And it's great to see that China is taking advantage of that, really maximizing the opportunity of hosting these Games. It's a great example to the rest of the world.
China still has a long way to go. It has gone a long way, but it does have a long way to go. So in your New Year message posted on YouTube, you said this: change starts with sport. There could be millions of people who have a disability watching this program. What would you say to them? Why sport?
Because I think the sport has this unique power to change the perception of people with disabilities. It's not like I'm doing here, I'm speaking, I'm talking, trying to change someone's understanding or someone's view on person with disability. It's because of the personal experience with what is going on in the field of play. Whether it's a 100 meters event, whether it's a swimming event, a bocce competition. In this case now, when you see again a blind skier coming 100 kilometers per hour downhill, having to trust his or her guide, I think it changes the perception of people of what a blind person could do. When you see someone, an amputee, downhill again with one leg, it changes what you perceive and what you understand that an amputee can do. And the same with wheelchair, curling, parasnowboard, all the different sports. So it helps to change. That's why sport is so important here, because it convinces people by their own experience that they were having, let's say, wrong assumptions on persons with disability. And when they realize, if this guy can be an athlete and perform like that, this guy can be a good father, she can be a good mother, sister, brother, entrepreneur, staff, boss, citizen. And that's the power of sport. It's not only about Paralympics, it's about sport. But in the Paralympics is the event that really drives inclusion in society, because it's the impact of sport. And that's why we say the change starts with sport, but it can't be only about sport. It has to get to other sectors of society. It has other activities, such as employment is a very important one. Transport, really accessibility, barrier-free, that's important. So it starts with sport, but we want inclusion, and we want the change to achieve different sectors of society and in different activities of society.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the saying that goes, if you can change your body, you can change everything. Mr. President, you yourself do not have a disability, but you have been very involved in the cause of Paralympics. You have been the chairperson of Brazil's Paralympic Committee, and then America's Paralympic Committee, and now you're the International Paralympic Committee chairperson. What inspired you to get involved in this cause?
Well, first of all, I think it was a very good opportunity that really changed my life. When I joined the Brazilian Paralympic Committee, this was 25 years ago, it took me only a few weeks to decide I want to stay in this movement forever. This is what I would like to do for the rest of my life. And 20 years on, I'm still here, still with the same passion, still contributing at a different level. Of course, being the president of the IPC gives me the opportunity. I think it's a mission that I have in life. And that I was lucky enough that when I was only 20 years old to understand that even if I didn't have it, I still don't have a disability, I can contribute to a better world through sport, doing my part. And again, 1.2 billion people, I think they really deserve my ultimate effort to make for a more inclusive world in my role. So it's through sport.
Thank you very much for all that you've done. Finally, at the Pyeongchang 2018 Olympic Winter Games, the International Olympic Committee and the International Paralympic Committee signed a historic long-term agreement establishing a partnership between the two organizations until at least 2032. How will this enhance the Paralympic brand and benefit the Paralympic movement?
Well, this was a historical agreement between the IOC and the IPC. The International Olympic Committee is our biggest partner by far. We have been working together since then really closely, and it helps a lot when it comes to sponsorship, when it comes to activation, broadcasting, when it comes to even to delivery of the games. So we are more integrated than ever before, and this helps the organizing committees, helps the IOC, helps the IPC. So I think we have more resources to support our members, to support athletes. We have better games, and we have a bigger reach when it comes to broadcasting. So I think it's helping massively our movement in have a bigger impact on the world.
Mr. Andrew Parsons, President of the International Paralympic Committee, it is an honor to have you with us. Thank you very much.